Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your end of September. Almost forgot for a second. 2023 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. My new holographic tarot deck. I have, the one thing that kind of I feel, I hope that, people are able to see through the shimmering, because I've had things, it's kind of cool how it looks when you see it in person, but I'm not so sure how it shows up on camera. And so that's the only reservation I have thus far. So I don't want there to be a glare or anything like that. All right. So what do we have here? We have 3 major arcana cards out of 6. That's pretty significant. Probably, if I look at it astrologically, because there's a lot of Libra energy at the moment. And, well, when I say a lot, as we end September, we go into the Libra season. Mars in Libra already. There's going in early October, we'll see it even more so. And that's your 5th house, and that deals with love. So let's say someone is married to someone and they're unhappy in that marriage, and this somebody new has come along, activated by that 5th house, where you're going to have solar eclipse next month, by the way, then yeah. So the heart of the matter is the Judgment card. See, when it hits the light, it can kind of, I just don't want it to be obscured. So the Judgment card can be about a legal judgment that is coming down, but it can be you questioning your own judgment over something that you've done that hasn't turned out the way that you've wanted it to. Maybe you made a choice in a very kind of in-the-moment way that you no longer are very happy about. And we have in the past position the 2 of Swords, and you are Swords, being an air sign. So this can be someone trying to make a decision, being indecisive. And she's wearing a blindfold, or whoever that person is wearing a blindfold. And that can sometimes mean that the moon is in the background, which can indicate deception. It can indicate that the person's making a false choice, that they're acting like there is a choice in the matter, and they're just fooling themselves in some way. And also the Judgment card is about cause and effect. So it's like, you could call it karma. I really don't like to say karma, because that implies punishment. But karma does mean action. So if people understand what it really means, they don't see it as like some kind of a punitive situation where they're being punished, when it's really about, like, okay, you drop a drinking glass from a balcony, it's going to shatter into 1,000 pieces on the ground because of gravity. That's not because God hates you. It's because there's cause and effect, and there are laws that govern, like the law of gravity, that govern what happens when you do certain things. So you might be dealing with 2 different people for some reason, and that could be, here's how, like, let me give you an example of how it can feel very screwy. That you have an affair, or you fall in love with someone else. Let's say you don't actually cheat on your partner. You fall in love with them, and you declare to your significant other, your spouse, that you're leaving, and then you find out that that other person was lying all along, and they are married, and they never thought that you would leave your partner. That stuff does happen, you know that, right? And so you're deciding, should I stay with this? Now we would call it an affair, or should I leave when it's obvious, what the person should do if they want to make sure they're doing something that's going to lead them to something good, I would say. The higher message is the Queen of Pentacles. To me, the first word that came to my mind is grounding, a grounding card. The Queen can indicate the mother energy, and it's about that nourishment, but also from very tangible sources. And typically, if I were just reading this, I would say, wow, you're going to have the opportunity to get in touch with your domestic goddess energy. You too, men. You too, Gemini men. You can be domestic goddesses too. And like if this is a marital judgment, like you're going to get divorced, this may be that same thing as well. Maybe, you were with someone that wanted to force you to be like that, and you didn't, so you kind of pushed against it, but now it's really a part of you, and you didn't really welcome it because you felt like somebody was strong-arming you to be like that. And you have, being a Gemini, you're multifaceted. You're very versatile. So you don't want to be just kind of held down to one identity. And so, I don't read the higher message card like in a literal sense that the typical tarot meaning would be. It's more like, what to learn from the situation is to embrace that divine feminine. Don't shy away from it. Gemini is a masculine sign, so that goes for the men as well, because then you become more balanced. If you're too, like, let's say your marriage didn't survive because you were like gone a lot. You were socializing, you had all these fingers in different pies, so to speak, hopefully just a saying. And you didn't tend to the home front enough. You didn't nurture that environment. Well, you have to bring balance to your life in that way, and you probably will, because you won't feel like you have to. Once you feel like you have to do something, that's when it kind of loses its feeling. What crosses you is the Devil card. This card of, yes, I mean, if you're cheating, this is the chains that bind you. Lust. Materialism for some people, if this is job related. And yeah, that's another thing too. If you were working for simply the money and not for because you were satisfied, you may have neglected your home base. And maybe the Judgment card is the Tower moment of like that, because it's a Pluto energy. That's why I always felt like it should be something along those lines of the Tower should be connected to Pluto, because it is that destruction that can come about so that something better comes up in its wake. So for some people, that can be that they had to lose their job in order to tend to very important domestic matters. Maybe your children need you and you've been, busy doing other things. Yeah, it's funny because I'm thinking astrologically that your sixth house is Scorpio, Gemini. So we did have a lunar eclipse there in May. So this may have been something that already happened, and you're dealing with the aftermath of that. But it's for the highest good. It's what's coming in is a Temperance card. This is actually connected to Sagittarius, but it's as above, so below, and it's kind of that balance between the spiritual and the material. One foot in the water, one on land. The land representing the material energy, the earth energy, and the water, the spirit. That's a tough thing for Geminis because you live in the mind. So the idea of the spirit can be kind of abstract and maybe even seem a little bit like fiction to some Geminis. Not to say that Geminis can't be spiritual, but your brand of spirituality may engage the mind. I mean, obviously I haven't done any kind of survey, but I bet you any amount of money that of all the signs that are Buddhists or attracted to Buddhism, I'm talking about from the Western world specifically, that many of them may be a sun and an air sign. So if not Gemini, then Libra or Aquarius, or have some kind of other placements like the moon, which is the intuition, that make them like that. And yeah, because that can be someone who loves to engage with spirituality from a more intellectual point of view. I believe in yoga they call it jnana for knowledge, so the scholarly type. There are different paths to God through the yoga, the different yogas, the bhakti, the devotional, and the jnana, which is more of the intellectual. So you don't, it depends on your makeup, how you handle that. But that's important in life in general, but now more than ever for you. And also because it's connected to Sagittarius, there might be some Sagittarius that I have been alluding to in this reading that is who you're meant to be with, and the outcome card, or who you've been dealing with. The outcome is the Six of Cups. This is the Soulmate card. This is the card of children and nostalgia. So, yeah, and that's funny too because the Virgo energy for you is that fourth house, which this card is connected to Cancer, which in astrology is the house of home and family and childhood. So, yeah, you have, as I record this, it's in a latter degree of Virgo, and I don't know exactly what else. Of course, Mercury is there for sure, and Mercury is the mind and maybe your memories so that are getting activated. But I'm talking about Mercury will go into Libra on the 4th of the month, so it will not stay too long. But at this time, in the end of September, it is in that fourth house, and so that makes you thinking about the past maybe more than usual, maybe getting sentimental for some reason. So that's what I have for you. Well, one thing I want to say about this is that Gemini, you have the opportunity to have those feelings of innocence. That's what the Six of Cups is really about, is that idyllic quality that childhood brings. Now, some people have horrific childhoods, and it probably bothers them to hear about childhood even talked about because it's talked about in such glowing terms, and not everybody has that. So if you never had that, you can give that to yourself. You can give yourself the childhood that you never had in the form of an adulthood that feels very free, that feels like you're following your bliss and doing what makes you happy. So regardless of the past, this is a card of the future in terms of what you embrace. So it's not about living in the past and trying to rewrite history, but about what in the past was beautiful, or what person was I with in the past that I wish I could be with today, that I did not appreciate then, or there were barriers. Because this is a soulmate card, sometimes people come back into each other's lives years later. So, ponder on that, also your aspirations, because something may have come to a head with that Judgment card, where you have to start anew in some cases, and you may be tempted to go for what you know, but then you think about it and you say, well, I wasn't really happy doing that, so maybe I can do this. And this is something I've always wanted to do. All right, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, please click the link below for my offerings. Take care. Bye.